Hey guys, what's up? This is B coming to you from G&A today. So I just want to do a quick little review on the Smith Wesson M&P 1522. I've had this rifle for quite a while now and just haven't ever done a review on it. So I just want to do a quick mini review just on the single rifle. So we're talking about the Smith Wesson M&P 1522, and this is obviously their 22 LR tactical rifle. This is probably one of the more popular tactical 22 rifles on the market today. Now, this rifle is actually made by Smith Wesson. Some of these tactical 22s that you buy have one name stamped on it, but it's actually made by another. For instance, the H&K 22 LRs, like the H&K 416, the H&K G36K, both of those have H&K stamped on them, but they're actually made by Walther. Well, this Smith Wesson is actually made by Smith, and it's made here in the States. Alright, so what is this rifle made out of? Well, it's primarily made out of polymer. The quad rail is polymer, the upper is polymer, the lower is polymer, and the receiver extension is polymer. And actually, this receiver extension is just one molded piece into this whole lower. So this is basically a polymer rifle all the way throughout. There's some steel reinforcement inside of this upper, but it's basically a polymer rifle, and that's one reason that this rifle gets a little bit of criticism, is because of that fact. Now, most people agree that this is probably the best tactical 22. Well, I guess that's up for debate, but for the majority of people, they're going to argue that this is the best one. But the one criticism that this rifle does have is that it is completely polymer, and I'd have to agree with that. I would prefer the upper to be made out of aluminum or something. But anyways, that's what you're getting with this rifle, is you're getting basically a polymer gun all the way throughout. Now, with that being said, this rifle can shoot 30,000 rounds, and you're not going to have problems with it. Because, I mean, we're talking about the 22 cartridge, so it's not like it's under high stress. Alright, and you can't see it down there, but it's just a little bit over 5 pounds, about 5 1/4 pounds. That's with a 25 round stock magazine, and of course, we're empty here. Okay, this magazine is empty, and I have a snap cap in the chamber, so I know that we're clear here. Alright, this rifle has a lot of variants, a lot of differences. Now, my rifle was the standard rifle, obviously with a threaded barrel. It did not come with this Magpul furniture here. I added that on later. It had just the standard AR-15 style pistol grip and the standard AR-15 buttstock. But I've added those on. So there, like I said, there's all kinds of variations to this. You can get one without the threaded muzzle. You can get one that does come with Magpul furniture on it. And when you do that, you'll get the Magpul flip-up sights as well. You can get this in several colors. You can get it in the Muddy Girl, the pink, the purple. There's lots of different colors that you can get this thing. Of course, I just prefer just the plain black. There's also what they call their performance center rifles, which are supposed to be more accurate. But there's a lot of different variants, and you can get these to be state compliant, where they have fixed stocks, where you can buy them with 10-round magazines. Of course, being able to get these like in New York is difficult, because you can't have this straight pistol grip coming down in New York. You can't have that. It's got to have something that comes off the back there. But there are a whole lot of variants for this rifle. Okay, also another very good thing about this rifle, and there's all kinds of good things about this, but one of the very good things about it is, like what I've already talked about, is that you can replace the pistol grip here. This is just a standard MOE pistol grip. Just a plain MOE pistol grip, and this is just the standard MOE buttstock. So these can be replaced with basically any standard AR-15 parts here. And this receiver extension is a mil-spec buffer tube receiver extension. So if you do want to get a different buttstock for this, you'll want to get a mil-spec for that. Also, the quad rail can be replaced. You have to get a new barrel nut, and you can get that from tactical22.net. I'll put the link to that. That's a good company to deal with there. But he sells the barrel wrench. On this, you can't just put your upper into a vise and then take it off like this, because if you try to spin the barrel is locked up in plastic. If you try to spin the barrel without clamping on the barrel, it'll eat that up inside of there. So you have to have a barrel clamp for this rifle to do work on it. And they sell that on tactical22.net as well. So be careful of that. If you try to spin this barrel and you spin it inside the receiver, you're tearing stuff up inside of there. So be careful of that. Okay, another thing that's replaceable is the trigger. You can put in basically any standard AR-15 trigger. You can drop in any trigger that you want to. You can drop in a CMC trigger, a Timney trigger, a Geisley trigger. There are some of those that that do cause a little bit of problem, so you will need to research it if you want, especially get one of the higher end ones that is going to cost you $200 or $300. But most of them you can fit in here. So that's a huge thing for this rifle, because you know, for the accuracy part of this, we know that one of the major things in having good accuracy is trigger control, and to have good trigger control, you do need a good trigger. So even though this is a pretty good trigger in here already, it is replaceable. So that's very awesome for this rifle, and it's easy to do. It's basically, you can see right here, you got your 2 pins. It's just the same thing as doing it on any standard AR-15. All right, let's talk about the rifle controls. And this is one reason why this is why this is regarded as one of the best tactical 22s, is because it replicates the AR-15 so well. There's really not another one that replicates the AR-15 as good as the 1522 does. So you have your standard AR-15 mag release right here. Okay. Your charging handle's right here, and it works just like a standard AR-15 charging handle. Alright. Picked out my snap cap there. Now this is not a standard AR-15 charging handle though. It's a lot shorter, but it works just like one. And I still have my Polar one in here, but there are a couple companies that actually make aftermarket charging handles that are made out of aluminum. I think Plinker Tactical makes one, and there's another company that makes one. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'll have a picture of that though also. Another thing, very important thing about this rifle, is that it has a true bolt catch and true bolt release. With the mag fully seated here, alright, you can see how my bolt is held open. I'm gonna push that, and my bolt can close even on an empty magazine. Most tactical 22s you cannot do that with. So this bolt catch, bolt release is fully functional. It works exactly like a standard AR-15 bolt catch, bolt release does. On the Colt M422, the bolt catch, bolt release on it is purely cosmetic. On the H&K 416-22, it's purely cosmetic. This one is the most functional out of any tactical 22 that you can get, so that's a huge benefit for this rifle as well. All right, let's talk about trigger pull on this. So the trigger pull, now it depends on which 1522 you get. If you get some of the earlier ones, their trigger pull was a little bit higher. It was up around the 6 to 7 pound range. Mine is the newer generation, which, when I say newer generation, if you've bought any rifles in the last 3 or 4 years, you have the newer generation, and it's about a 5 to 5.5 pound pull. And the main way to know if you have the newer generation is if you have the blue springs that are in here, and I'll show you that in just a second. But when you hear people talking about blue springs, you can see there's several springs in here that are blue. You know you have the newer generation. But with the newer generation, and probably most people have that, this is going to be about a 5.5 pound pull, somewhere around there. And this trigger is pretty nice. So let me show you how this thing pulls real quick. And got the snap cap in there. Alright, so I'm going to put this on fire. And there's barely any take up, so I'm just going to stop talking because it barely takes up before it breaks. Basically, there is no take up. That's the trigger pulled all the way back. Shouldn't drop that on an empty chamber, but for trigger reset, it's right there. And basically that's all the way back to full resting position also there. So this trigger is pretty nice. There's barely any travel from its full resting position to being pulled all the way back. I mean, we're talking, it's just maybe 1/8 of an inch or just a little bit more. So there's not a lot of movement there. And it breaks very cleanly, very nice. But again, the main thing about this rifle is if you don't like that, you can change it. You can put whatever kind of trigger that you want to on this rifle. Okay, another thing that's awesome about this rifle is, again, how close it is to the AR-15, how easy it is to break down. So it's exactly like an AR-15. You have your you have your takedown pin and your pivot pin. So you can do this. It's pulls out, and here on the bolt carrier, I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but this spring right here is blue. It just has a tiny, tiny blue cast to it. So that's one of the blue springs I was talking about. So it's very easy to pull this out, to clean this up, to clean the bolt face, breech face there. You can bring your pivot pin out and pull it apart like this. This is not a standard AR-15 lower. You cannot put a standard AR-15 upper on this, and you could not put a standard AR-15 lower on this. But it does replicate the AR-15 very, very closely. Okay, and one way that this is not the same as the AR-15 is on the AR-15, the charging handle would have to go up into that little groove, and then you would put the bolt in it. On this one, you can just set the bolt into the charging handle, and it'll slide on home for you. Let's talk about magazines real quick. So this is the standard Smith Wesson 25 round magazine, and these used to be kind of difficult to get. Now they're not. You can get them basically anywhere, and you can get them for cheap most of the time. Basically, you can find these most of the time around $15, maybe up to 20, but somewhere in that neighborhood. So they're pretty reasonable magazines. All right, here's another magazine that you can get. This is made by Plinker Tactical. This is a 35 round magazine. Now this magazine has a lot of people who don't like it and have problems with it. To be honest, I have never shot one of these yet. I bought these on sale. I haven't had the opportunity yet. But this is another magazine option that you have. Also, I don't have it, but Black Dog makes a 50-round drum. And there was one other magazine that was made for this by Pro Mag, and it was a 32-round magazine, but it was a knockoff of Smith & Wesson's design. If you looked at those two, they are nearly exactly the same. Anyways, Pro Mag got sued by Smith & Wesson or whatever. Smith & Wesson contacted them and let them know that they better stop making that because it was infringing on the patent for this magazine. So those Pro Mags were supposed to be awesome magazines. I was never able to pick one up, but Pro Mag can't make them anymore, and so they're kind of a unicorn now. I used to see them occasionally on Gunbroker, but I can't find them anymore. Okay, American pricing on this rifle. So I bought mine on sale a couple of years ago, a year and a half ago now, and I bought it for $370 or $380. No, it was $360. I have seen them on sale at Palmetto State for as low as $299. I haven't seen them on Palmetto for sale at that price for a while now. But they do occasionally do that, so you may want to watch for that. Typically, I see them going on sale pretty regularly now for $359, and you can find those at different places. You may have to wait a week or two to see a deal like that come up, but I see them pretty regularly. If you're just looking for it, you don't want to wait time to look for a sale, probably you're looking up around the $400 to $450 mark. But generally, I think you'll be able to find them below the $400 mark. Okay, and last thing I want to talk about real quick is accuracy. This rifle is a pretty accurate rifle, but it's not the most accurate rifle. And if anybody said that this is the most accurate rifle, then they don't know better. Because if you really wanted the most accurate, you would get a bolt action rifle that you could be that is just doesn't have moving parts, and you can just be more accurate with it. So this is not the most, but it's a decently accurate rifle. I think it's probably around, my particular rifle is probably around a 2 MOA rifle, probably a little bit more than that, probably 2 to 2.5, but that's probably what you can expect in this rifle. Making sure you're doing your part, that you're controlling the trigger properly, and all the other things that go along with making sure your accuracy is right. You're probably going to be able to expect around a 2 MOA rifle, probably between 2 and 3 MOA, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I've got quite a few tactical 22s in my collection. This was my first one that I bought, and it's just an awesome rifle. If you're just going to get one tactical 22, this is probably the one that you want. Now, there may be other reasons you want another one, but if you want one that's just absolutely functional, one that's absolutely reliable, this is probably the go-to rifle. Now, SIG's 22 is pretty awesome also, and there's a lot of them also that are pretty awesome, but you basically can't go wrong with this rifle. And another thing that I'll mention quickly is Smith's warranty on this is awesome. They don't sell parts individually for it, so that stinks. But if you do have problems with it, Smith is very good about taking the rifle in, getting it fixed, and sending it back to you. So if you blow an extractor out or whatever, you do something that you can't fix yourself, Smith will be happy to do that. And so very good warranty work on this rifle as well. So you can expect that as you own this rifle to get good service from Smith on it. So there's just the quick little review on the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522. This is B coming to you from GNA. Thanks for watching today.